Hi, boys and girls. This week we're going to be working on lesson 28. We're going to be reading a story called Days with Frog and Toad. Super cute story. I think you guys are really going to enjoy it. Let's go over the words to know that we're going to be focusing on this week. Number one, the first word is second. Second. The boy is trying to tie his second sneaker. So I think we know what second means. Like when we're running a race, the person that comes in first, second, third. We use that word a lot. Number two, the word is ball. Ball. She practiced until she could hit the ball well. And there's the ball right there. Number three, the word is across. Across. The runners dashed across the finish line. And you see them running. There's the finish line, across. Number four, the word is head. Head. He hit the ball with his head to make a goal. What game do you think he's playing here, guys? Did he hit the ball with his head? What do you think that is? Yeah, soccer. Good job. Number five, the word is heard. Heard. The children heard clapping at the end. What do you think they were doing here? They heard clapping. A performance. Very good. Or they were in a play, like we did our Christmas show. Number six, the word is large. Large. It was not too hard to ride up the large hill. Large is the first grade word for big, okay? Large hill. Number seven, the word is cried. Cried. We can do it, cried the team. And look at them cheering each other on. So it's not that they were crying, is that they were kind of, the way it's used here in context is they were saying it loudly, okay? Number eight, the word is should. Should. The teacher said that she should try again. And there they are practicing, should. This week, our target skill is story structure. A story has different parts. Characters are the people and animals in a story. The setting is when and where a story takes place. The plot tells about the problem the characters have and how they solve it. Use a story map to tell about the characters, setting, and plot. And we've gone over this several times this year, right? So we're going to analyze that when we meet on our Zoom session. Who are the characters? The setting, where does the setting take place? The plot, what was the problem and how was it solved? Target strategy, infer, predict. Use text evidence to figure out more about the story and to think of what might happen next. Remember, to infer is to predict. Well, to infer is when the author doesn't necessarily tell you something, but you take clues and text evidence and put a picture together or a thought, okay? Preview the topic, weather. Weather can cause problems. We know that well down here in Miami with hurricanes. Storms can damage homes. Too much rain can lead to floods. The weather can also help us. Rain helps crops grow. Wind helps us fly kites. You will find out if the wind helps Frog and Toad in the Kite. Can't wait to read the story with you. You should have your book open to page 86, and we're going to talk about the genre of the story right here, genre. And the type of story that we're reading today is a fantasy story. It says a fantasy story could not happen in real life. As you read, look for events that could not really happen, animals who talk and act like people. Because if you realize those things in a story, then you realize that you are not in a real story, you're in a fantasy. Let's meet the author and illustrator, Arnold Lobel. Arnold Lobel drew many animals before he came up with the frog and toad characters. During vacations with his family in Vermont, Mr. Lobel watched his children play with frogs and toads. Soon the animals were starring in his books. Here we go. The story we're reading now is The Kite from Days with Frog and Toad by Arnold Lobel. So this here tells us from this is the name of the book, Days with Frog and Toad, and this is a little part of the story that we're reading called The Kite. Essential question: how can weather change your day? We know all about that down here, don't we? Times that we couldn't go to the playground because of the weather, right? All right, The Kite. Read with me and follow along. Frog and Toad went out to fly a kite. They went to a large meadow where the wind was strong. Our kite will fly up and up, said Frog. It will fly all the way up to the top of the sky. Toad, said Frog, I will hold the ball of string. You hold the kite and run. Page 90. Toad ran across the meadow. He ran as fast as his short legs could carry him. The kite went up in the air. It fell to the ground with a bump. Toad heard laughter. 3 robins were sitting in a bush. Look at them here. Laughter. Do birds really laugh, or you think he heard them chirping? How do you think Toad feels there? That kite will not fly, said the robins. You may as well give up. Toad ran back to Frog. Frog, said Toad, this kite will not fly. I give up. Story structure. What problem do Frog and Toad have? Think about that. We'll discuss that in class. We must make a second try, said Frog. Wave the kite over your head. Perhaps that will make it fly. Toad ran back across the meadow. He waved the kite over his head. What do you think happened? Let's see on page 93. The kite went up in the air and then fell down with a thud. What a joke, said the robins. That kite will never get off the ground. Boy, those robins are not being very nice to poor Toad. On page 94, read with me. Toad ran back to Frog. This kite is a joke, he said. It will never get off the ground. We have to make a third try, said Frog. Wave the kite over your head and jump up and down. Perhaps that will make it fly. Toad ran across the meadow again. He waved the kite over his head. He jumped up and down. The kite went up in the air and crashed down into the grass. I wonder if those robins were watching. Oh, yes, they were. That kite is junk, said the robins. Throw it away and go home. Toad ran back to Frog. This kite is junk, he said. I think we should throw it away and go home. Look at those robins. Toad, said Frog, we need one more try. Wave the kite over your head. Jump up and down and shout, up, kite, up. Toad ran across the meadow. He waved the kite over his head. He jumped up and down. He shouted, up, kite, up. What do you think happens? Let's see. Turn to page 98. The kite flew into the air. It climbed higher and higher. We did it, cried Toad. Yes, said Frog. If a running try did not work, a running and waving try did not work, and a running, waving, and jumping try did not work, I knew that a running, waving, jumping, and shouting try just had to work. Analyze the text. Fantasy. How is this story different from What Can You Do? We can talk about that when we see each other again. And there he is, Frog and Toad. They are all happy. The robins flew out of the bush, but they could not fly as high as the kite. Frog and Toad sat and watched their kite. It seemed to be flying way up at the top of the sky. And that's the end, boys and girls. I will see you soon. Bye.